How's it going, fellas? Angry Russian Minecraft kid here.
Пиздец. Пиздец! Да куда пошла шлюха ебаная?
Today we are redoing the, what was it, 2017, 2018? Video, my 10 scariest / freakiest gaming monsters. And it's very exciting for me to visit and improve upon with all the new beasties that we've gotten over the past years. And this time, I have some rules. 1, they don't just have to be from horror games. And 2, 1 game per series. Also, I very much want to emphasize that this is all my opinion. Everyone has different standards for scary, and by no means is this meant to be a 100% objective. This video is for me to give my thoughts on what I think is scary, and maybe you in the comments could give your thoughts on what you think is scary. With that being said, on to the list. Alright, so imagine this. It's 2011. You're watching your brothers play Gears 3, and you're really enjoying the cool cog soldiers mowing through red and yellow grubs. The characters arrive in the ghost town of Mercy. It's quiet. Too quiet. There are no enemies, only easily disableable bombs. It's only when you enter the sewers of the town do you see them. The formers. Lambent-infected humans.
Who did this? What happened? What the hell?
She's lambent! It's spread to humans!
I'd reckon you'd be scared, just as 10-year-old me was. The main traits of the formers are their dead, dry skin, their sharp claws and glowing eyes and mouth, and large veins that pump emulsion through their sickly bodies. They always attack in swarms, and unlike the rest of the lambent horde, which move at regular slow speeds, formers move extremely fast. Despite their fertility, they still shouldn't be underestimated, since not only do they move fast, but they also attack fast and will swarm the player. But by far the worst part is the fact that they still might be conscious, as you can hear them cry for death among the screeches. Such behavior suggests that their minds remain relatively untouched while the rest of the body is saturated with pure parasitic emulsion. The main thing that puts the formers on the list is, well, my own childhood trauma, as I saw these glowing ghouls when I was just a small child. And let me tell you this, when you're an autistic child that can't tell the difference between reality and fiction, it fucks you up. Number 10 to the former. The deep ocean is not the most fun place around. Pitch black, freezing cold, insane water pressure, and almost no food. For most landlubbers, it seems like a dead zone, and yet life still flourishes in these depths. However strange or terrifying the denizens of the deep may be, a lot of them looking almost alien. But what if we found an alien ocean and explored the depths of its seas? Well, I don't know the exact answer, but I have a pretty good feeling that Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero give us a decently substantial idea. The Shadow Leviathan is a species of Leviathan-class predator found within the crystal caves and the fabricator caverns, with an elongated black body, a glowing blue mouth lined with sharp teeth, and 7 pairs of jointed clawed appendages that run down the sides of its mouth. This deep water apex predator is almost 60 meters long, which is almost 200 feet long for my American viewers. It doesn't quite help that the Shadow Leviathan is found in the two deepest biomes of the game, the Crystal Caverns and the Fabricator Caverns, which at their shallowest are still 480 meters below sea level, and at their deepest are 950 meters down. For context, 200 meters is the point where sunlight in our oceans becomes non-existent. The Shadow Leviathan dominates these biomes, and the fact that it remains relatively quiet until it attacks, combined with its dark body and stealthy movements, makes it a reminder that the deep ocean is not the domain of men. Not in this game, nor in our sea. Number 9 to the Shadow Leviathan. Sometimes the scariest things are implied. After all, one can see animated gore a million times and become numb to it. But knowing that you're not alone when you should be, or that your actions caused more harm than good, is a lot more scary. Secretaries are a type of enemy that appear through random encounters in the purified zones and get more powerful in each zone. Described as diabolical humanoid figures, they appear to be strange, mutilated, deformed babies. The secretaries gradually appear more strange and mutilated in Zone 2, and even more so in Zone 3. The worst part is that these enemies only appear after you have quote-unquote purified the zones. And the goal of the character you control, the batter, is to purify the zones. Which means that these entities and all of this destruction is the result of the player's actions. No wonder the judge perceives the batter as a depraved monster if you side with the judge in the final battle. Also, it should be noted that there is more dark material in this game. Fuck, even a Silent Hill Easter egg. And if you don't believe me, here it is. Yeah, I got it this time. Number 8 to Off's Secretaries. You are bound to hear Minecraft players talking about how bad it is to be ambushed by a creeper, how they sneak up on you, how they do so much damage. Well, at least the creeper is kinda cute, unlike the NOSALIS. NOSALIS are the standard enemy of the Metro video game series. Appearing in all 3 games, they are fierce predators, extremely territorial, and can easily overwhelm fortified positions in large numbers. They differ from most other mutant types by the sheer number of variant subspecies that exist under the generalization of NOSALIS. Common between all types, however, is a bipedal and humanoid shape, with 2 arms and legs, arched spines, and large round heads that prominently display big noses, gaping jaws, and huge teeth. Their nests are seemingly everywhere in the Metro, but they are less frequently seen on the surface. Of course, you're not safe on the surface either. They deal a lot of damage, meaning that fighting more than one is going to be a challenge in of its own, right? And the mix of the darkness of the Metro, their numbers, and their strength is what puts these mutants on the list instead of the Watchmen or demons. Unfortunately, there's no way to truly avoid these bottom-dwelling beasts in the Metro, so it's best to just give them the number 7 spot. There is always something uncanny about an enemy that vocalizes itself, and the Guardian is no exception. No, not you! Get out of here! Get out of here! The Guardian is a towering abomination that stands at least twice the height of Sebastian, and is comprised of the mutilated remains of various women, murdered by Stefano Valentini. Mostly their heads. each one sporting a different expression, with the central one facing forward and sporting a wide, maniacal grin. She constantly emits hysterical giggles, which changes to a very deep and throaty cackle when she spots a potential victim. A manifestation of Stefano's insanity and his twisted obsession with art, its horrific appearance represents the many women Stefano murdered to create his art pieces. And despite the name implying that there's only one of these beasts, nah, Sebastian encounters at least 5 guardians over the course of the game. And more than one can be encountered at a given time. And they are one among a very tiny handful of enemies that do not have a weak point that can be exploited for extra damage. I don't know about you, but if a giant humanoid monster with a buzzsaw for an arm was chasing after me and giggling, I would just turn off the game and pack up my bags and move to Peru and live the rest of my life as a llama. For the sake of not dying to this, number 6 goes to the Guardian. Spiders are not the most liked creatures in gaming, often being used for scary levels or just full-blown horror games. And for good reason. Spiders are often erratic in their movements and lanky in their legs, and their arachnid bodies are so different from familiar mammals. In the words of Damon Baird, humans are hardwired to react to things that scuttle. Spiders are already bad for many people, but what about a spider that mimics your loved ones to lure you into a trap? You get Nosk! Found in the darkest depths of Deepnest, Nosk is a hidden boss found in the infection-riddled world of Hollow Knight, and is perhaps the scariest boss in the game. And it's all because of the build-up and the location. Well, mostly. When first encountered, Nosk looks exactly like the knight in an unreachable location before the long drop to the area's hot spring. After this, it is encountered in the hidden maze of tunnels leading to its lair, appearing and disappearing before the knight reaches it. The latter parts of the maze is littered with various dead bugs, their thoughts hinting at the creature's treachery, but the real horror is in the boss fight. After a terrifying transformation, Nosk barrages the player with attacks, charges, leaps, eruptions, and rains of infection. And because the Shade will spawn in the same room as Nosk, you either have to beat it the first time, or go back to Dirtmouth to get the services of Confessor Gigi if you want to escape with an unbroken soul meter. Unnatural, aggressive, unrelenting, and malicious, number 5 goes to Nosk. We like to think that zombies are a thing of fiction, but that's not quite the case. In our real world, there's a fungus that turns ants into living zombies by the name of Ophiocordyceps. The same killer fungus is seen in The Last of Us. Clickers are the third stage of the infected and take roughly a year to reach this stage of infection. They have had prolonged exposure to the fungus and now possess strength that significantly surpasses the average human. This makes them deadlier, but at the price of being completely blind due to fungal infection taking over their face. However, clickers are able to maneuver through areas by utilizing a very crude form of echolocation, producing notable clicking/screeching noises to locate sources of sound, hence their name. While they will not notice something is alive or moving unless it's directly in front of them, when they do, it's not a pretty sight. Provoking a clicker will cause it to immediately enter berserk mode, aggressively flaying its arms and roaring. At this point, if a survivor has been spotted by a clicker, the clicker will attack head-on and will not flinch when shot unless the player is using high-powered rounds. If you're not careful with dealing with them, then they will, in safer terms, game end you via taking out your throat. Number 4 to the clicker. For those who thought this was number 1, please understand. Don't get me wrong, this is an excellent monster, but for me, it's not the absolute scariest. But with that being said, in Silent Hill 2, the Pyramid Heads serve as a manifestation of James' unfulfilled desire for punishment for Mary Shepard Sunderland's death, as well as his guilt. The reason why the Pyramid Heads murder Maria is to remind James that he killed Mary. James is in denial, and Maria is a distraction to keep James away from Mary. Through Maria's repeated deaths, the Pyramid Heads remind James of Mary's death, and causes him to experience that guilt and suffering. When James finally accepts what he's done, after Maria is killed for the third time, the Pyramid Heads attack him and eventually impale themselves on their own spears, because they have finally fulfilled their purpose and duty and are no longer necessary for the remainder of James' journey in Silent Hill. Unlike the other monsters whose fear is based in looks, the fear from Pyramid Head is based in concept and the psyche of our main character James. Bronze medal spot number 3 to Pyramid Head. Being stalked is one thing, being stalked by a monster is another. Being stalked by a monster that you can't kill by conventional means? Well, all I can really say for you there is, you're gonna be seeing the heaven light soon. Stalkers are heavily altered necromorphs, bearing little resemblance to their original human form. Their long arms are equipped with long talons, ending in sharpened tips. While not effective at slashing, they can still impale, knock down, and rend their victims. The ribcage is displayed wide open, though as with most necromorphs there is a lack of any digestive organs, and only vestigial remains of previously vital organs. Well-formed musculature in the back leads to a reinforced spinal column, and a neck capped by the creature's most distinguishing feature, a massive, eyeless, three-pronged head with only traces of the original human bone structure. And the way they kill you is also quite gruesome, from just being torn in half to having your arm torn off and skull caved in. However, what puts the stalker on this list is their intelligence, as they use group tactics to wear down their victim, something that none of the other common necromorphs are capable of. It's the combination of their intelligence and how difficult they are to kill that makes them the beast of nightmares. Silver medal number 2 spot to the stalker. But before we get to number 1, let's get some honorable mentions. Honorable mention 5, the classic zombie. With its all too recognizable rotting face, it's a classic of horror. But of course, it has gotten a bit stale over the years, and now it takes a lot more work to make it distinct than it used to. This is why most zombie games have other enemies or a gimmick. Honorable mention 4, the Special Infected from Left 4 Dead. If you're new to these games, the Special Infected will scare you, but once you become a vet, the fear wears off. That does not mean that they are not memorable. In fact, the Special Infected are one of the most memorable enemy types among zombie games. Honorable mention 3, the FNAF animatronics. The biggest problem with most FNAF games is that after the first few deaths on the third night, it pretty much turns into a rage game. The most standout exceptions among the animatronics are the Nightmare animatronics, but that is solely based on designs, and designs can't entirely carry an entry. Honorable mention 2, the negative atmosphere monsters. I can't really say all that much because the game is still being worked on, but what I can say is that they do look terrifyingly awesome, and I can't wait until the full game comes out. Who knows, maybe in another remake I'll add them onto the list. Honorable mention 1, the Xenomorph from Alien Isolation. This game is terrifying, don't get me wrong, and the Xenomorph is the main reason why it is so scary. But the main reason why it is not on this list is because the Xenomorph is most known from and debuted in film, so it would be best on a list about movie monster. And now, number 1. Yeah, like I said last time, I'm Resident Evil 7 trash. The molded are tall, humanoid monsters whose mutated bodies are incredibly flexible and covered with the black, veined fungus that created them. Beneath the mold, bone structures and reddish organs can still be faintly seen. The head, in particular, is melted into an incomprehensible, misshapen mass, save for 2 eye sockets and the unnatural, gaping mouth taking up most of the head. Said mouth can stretch to unnatural sizes and is filled with enormous spike-like teeth, perfect for, say, ripping someone's face right off. The molded have similar claws on the ends of their arms, which can slice through humans and even infect them. They're not reanimated corpses, rather, any corpses fed to the mold provides enough fuel to construct the filaments of a molded from its biomatter. And because they were never really alive in the first place, you can never truly kill them, only ward them off. And while they lack the attack diversity of, say, the Wavo, they make up for it by having a few forms specialized in different types of attacks. They are animalistic and relentless monsters who exist only to serve and protect Evelyn. What puts the molded as number 1 on my list is how unique yet familiar they are, with independent traits such as their ability to melt back into mold when there is no prey, to familiar traits such as body similarities to the regeneradores. I have no personal doubts that the molded deserves number 1 spot on my list. Hi, welcome to the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Wow, can you believe this video was supposed to be made in 2019? Me neither! I'm sorry it took so long to get this list out, but hey, it came out during Spooky Month, hopefully. Or at least it was supposed to. But hey, I'm going to be putting out some spooky content to make up for that for the next few videos. The next video we'll be reading some r/no-sleep for those curious. If you have any ideas on what should or should not have made the list, then feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you want to see more of me, my content, and the Goretober art, then check out my Tumblr, DeviantArt, and now Twitter. If you want to see whips of the art or just the art, then follow me on Instagram. And if you want to hang out with me and other cool people, then join my Discord server. All of this will be linked in the description below. This is TheSoftMink signing out.